Hi, and welcome to the next episode of the Naria Lemire Show. And I'm your host, Naria. For those of you who are new, welcome. I'm a registered dietitian who specializes in weight management, gut health, and overall wellness. Today's episode is one of my favorite topics, and we're going to go into gut health. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit about why having a diverse microbiome is important and how to do it. So let's get into it. So, as usual, let's start with a story. When I was finishing my master's and I had to work on my thesis, my whole goal was to always focus on the gut microbiome. And although I knew that there was such a massive connection between the health of our gut and our risk for chronic health diseases, preventable, after finishing my thesis, that was just like full blown wow, wow. There's so much research out there that there's a massive association between certain chronic health conditions, preventable, like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, even anxiety, and an unhealthy gut microbiome. There's certain strains of bacteria that have been found maybe with people who are type 2 diabetics, people who have who are hypertensive and so forth. And I'm thinking that's just absolutely amazing. So what's the key here? What I learned was, hey, what we've always known. We need more of that healthy, wholesome food. But let's talk a little bit about what that means exactly. But first, what is the microbiome? We all have a microbiome here. And essentially, what that means is there's bacteria. That means they're alive. They're alive. Yes, guys, there's living things all in there, but they are pro you. They're pro you. But sometimes there's some of the bad guys in there. So, what's going to help is diversifying your gut microbiome. A lot of individuals get confused when I talk about diversifying the gut microbiome, which is totally understandable. But all that means is just eat more fruits, veggies, whole grains, manage stress management, and have good sleep patterns. Definitely easier said than done. I know, I know. And that's why you do one thing at a time. Now think about this. There's so many different types of probiotics out there. There's like probably billions at this point. There's fermented foods that we can get the probiotics. And one of the top questions I get is, Naria, should I take a probiotic? I've been told I need to take a probiotic. I'm taking one. Do I still need to spend money on this, especially if money's tight? Friends, a lot of people don't need a probiotic. A lot of people do. Before you spend your money on probiotics, I encourage you to ask yourself why you want a probiotic, because sometimes just having a good old healthy diet with fermented foods will do it, right? So if you're having that yogurt, the kefir, sauerkraut, those fermented foods, that can really help diversify the gut microbiome, which is great. Some individuals, maybe we experience discomforts that we may need a little bit more help, and that's 100% okay. But then you get into the question of which probiotic should I pick? And, to be honest, I may do an episode just on which probiotics I typically recommend. But if you're working with a registered dietitian, talk to them, because I have so many different recommendations depending on what symptoms and how you're feeling. There's some for weight management, if you're having bloatiness, gas, diarrhea, constipation. So you really want to be mindful of what type and what company you're buying your probiotics. Do you trust the company? Are they ethical? And that's kind of one of the starts. Talk to your registered dietitian. So there's probiotics which are alive. You can get them through capsules, you can get them through pills, which all of them are okay. Just again, make sure you talk to your dietitian about it. But probiotics are alive. And if they're alive, we know that they're going to need something to eat. Now, I'm so curious, before I continue, or if you're replaying this, which of course you are, comment below and tell me, what is the food for the probiotics? What are they eating? Friends, their food are the prebiotics. There's prebiotics and probiotics. The prebiotics are the food. So you can't just, or you shouldn't just focus on the probiotics, probiotic this, probiotic that, and then not be feeding them appropriately. It's like you're having this army and letting them just get malnourished. right? No, we're building an army. We want to make them strong. So we're going to say, hey, what do you need, guys? Because this is what I'm going to give you, because I want you to get strong. So when I get sick or something's happening, I want you guys to go to war for me. Okay, I'm just going to chill out here in this world, and in there, I want you guys to go to war. So what do you need from you? The prebiotics, the fiber, good old fiber. Now, if you're my follower, if you're my client, you already know I'm always talking about fiber for so many reasons. But one of the top reasons is your gut microbiome. It's the food for the bacteria. So we want to make sure that they're happy and flourishing. We want to make sure that they're happy. Now, with the prebiotics, there's a lot of companies or a lot of products that are called symbiotics. This is just a prebiotic and a probiotic together. That's actually what it is. But for prebiotics, good old, make sure you're getting your fruits, your veggies, your whole grains. You want to get that soluble, that insoluble fiber. You want to get those types to feed your army. Now, with the symbiotics, if you feel that you need it, again, talk to your dietitian and say, hey, this is what's going on. I feel that I could benefit. What do you think? Or hey, if you just want to give it a go, why not? Why not? Try them for at least a month. And if you feel better, great, have a ball. And you can decide if you want to continue, but it may not be necessary. Again, it may or may not. It's always best to get your food, your nutrients from food. So if you can get your probiotics through food, if you can get your prebiotics through food, 100% go that way. But we have to be realistic with ourselves. Sometimes we're too busy, or we don't have time this, or something's happening. So again, we want to have low hanging fruits. My low hanging fruits is having probiotics in case I didn't take any through foods, or if my veggies or fruits are low, I have my fiber supplements. And to be honest, and I know this shocks everyone that I tell, is I have veggies all day long. Like, I'm fine with that. But I'm just not a fruit fan. I don't know if I've ever been a fruit fan, but I really have to be very mindful of, Naria, eat your fruit, because if it was up to me, I don't know if I would ever eat fruit. But I try to add it into meals, into recipes, into shakes, into my pancakes. You guys see me post all the time. So I do try to add my fruit mainly on that. Once in a while I have fruit, but it's you won't just catch me snacking on fruit. That will be a very rare occasion. But when I'm mindful of my gut microbiome, I know what it needs. So I find, how will I enjoy the fruits? Which fruits do I like? And that's how I'm gonna make it. Again, you should be enjoying your meals. So think, am I having enough fruits and veggies? Am I having the right types of carbs? And what I mean by that is, you want to have mainly carbs that have fiber, fibrous foods. So prebiotics, probiotics, they work together. Don't just focus on the probiotics. You should be also focusing on those prebiotics. Now, when you look at the research, and guys, you guys have Google Scholar. Google Scholar is like a free resource for everyone. Go to Google Scholar and look at the research. Like, seriously, don't just go on Google and, it's nice and easy. You can, sure, like anyone can. But if you really want to look into, like which bacteria, which strains, which chronic diseases, which that are preventable, go on Google Scholar and then just type a diverse gut microbiome in its relation to preventable chronic health conditions or something like that. Mix your wording however you want. But you'll see there's like all these articles, and you'll see like, hey, individuals, what we see, especially in the Western diet, all those processed foods, chips, the cookies, the soda, the burgers, all that stuff. There's a certain amount of bacteria that's connected to those, that is shown to say, hey, if you have this type of diet, these individuals usually have this type of microbiome. The individuals that have more like a Mediterranean type of diet, more fruits, veggies, whole grains, fish, chicken, low fat proteins, have this type of microbiome. And what do we see in these types of individuals? Like, what kind of chronic health conditions do they develop over time? How are their anxiety and stress levels? Just a side note here, but what I do see a lot in practice is, with individuals who happen to have a lot of GI disorders, I often notice that their stress and anxiety levels are so high, but not only so high now, but usually it's chronic for a long period of time. It's very rare that I meet someone that has certain GI disorders and their stress is managed and their anxiety is managed. I would say about 90-95% of individuals that tell me, or I see that they have certain conditions, I can pretty much assume that their anxiety and stress is going to be pretty high. And again, usually it's chronic. So, what does that mean? It means that we need to manage our stress. We need to learn stress management techniques. Often, we're so used to experiencing stress that we think it's normal to react certain ways and to feel certain ways. But what you'll notice when you start to practice stress management is that you see that connection between your brain and your mind and your thoughts and your gut. Oh, it's like, oh, I'm starting to feel bad. I'm starting to get those symptoms when the anxiety starts to go up. Friends, of course, diet is important. Diversifying your microbiome is important, but you also have to manage your stress. One of the first things I always talk about individuals when they start my program is, how is your stress and how is your sleeping? That's going to be the number one, the top tier here. We need to make a game plan for that, especially if it's chronic, which most adults, usually it's pretty chronic. Now, after we create a game plan for that, then it's like, okay, now let's talk about nutrition, then let's talk about physical activity and all that other fancy stuff. But we can't just focus on nutrition, getting the prebiotics and probiotics, and then not focusing on what could be just causing it to not be a healthy environment, or not causing it to not be a diverse microbiome environment. So we always have to do that. So, friends, always think, how is my stress? How is my sleeping patterns? Am I having those prebiotics? And if I'm not, maybe if I'm just new to this journey, or maybe if I'm in it for 30 years, but I'm still struggling, what supplements do you want to try? Which ones are going to make your life easier? Supplements are there to help. There's nothing wrong with supplements. They're there to help. So think, if I'm not getting enough fiber in, which again is those prebiotics, what supplements do I want to try? Am I getting the both types of fibers, soluble and insoluble? Am I having both of those? Because we need those. And if all is well, then great. If all your fruits and veggies and whole grains are good, then great. If not, get a supplement. Now with the probiotics, try the probiotics through foods again. But again, if you don't have time, or if you notice your symptoms are still continuing, then try supplements. Try from companies that have high quality supplements. You want to be very mindful of the supplements you buy, which again, maybe I'll do an episode. Just comment below, send me an email if you're interested. But you want to good quality products. You want to be very mindful of your gut microbiome. If it's not diverse, your risk for preventable, guys, preventable chronic health conditions like hypertension, diabetes, even inflammation in the body is connected to your gut microbiome. So if you're like, hey, Naria, I'm having a lot of inflammation, what should I do? Of course, follow an anti-inflammatory diet, which connects with the Mediterranean. And guess what that connects with? The gut microbiome. A lot of my recommendations isn't just focused on one thing. It's kind of like killing 30 birds with one stone. And that's what I teach my clients when they're with me. One day I may randomly throw a fiber goal and you're like, why? I'm having healthy bowel movements. Yeah, but we're in it for so much more. We want to look at the big picture here. So with that, it's they learn of the whys and how to incorporate it in their busy lives. It's not that we want to adopt someone else's healthy life. We want to become that healthy person. And as that healthy person, how is my life? How is my day-to-day going to look? How is my fiber intake going to look? What pro and probiotics am I having? How am I managing my stress? Am I aware that I've been dealing with chronic stress? What am I going to do about it? Am I just going to hope for the best, or am I going to be proactive here? Remember, it's easy to come up with excuses. Oh, I'm this way because of this, or I can't do it because of this. Great. If you're not going to come up with solutions, don't expect nothing to change. But if you are expecting to live the rest of your life in a healthy version of yourself, you have to be mindful and say, hey, I have been dealing with this. What am I going to do differently from this point on? And usually, like, maybe an uncomfortable conversation. But guys, just step one, think, how is my stress? If it's 0, great, continue. If it's 10, hold your horses, and what are you going to do about it? So what I want you to try now is determine if you're having those probiotics, if you're having those prebiotics, and if not, how are you going to make it so easy to get these in your diet that it'll be easier for you to get these in your day to day than not to. Guys, make it easy. I always tell my clients to stop complicating the process. Healthy should not be complicated. My day to day is pretty simple. There's nothing complicated to it. There's no reason to complicate it. Maybe if you're going to a competition and you have to be super strict for a certain period of time, sure, that's different. There's competitions. But for the everyday type of thing, simplify it. Over complicated situations or thoughts, processes will kill the success. Simplify it, and then you grow on from there. So if you have any questions or if you want any more information on prebiotics, probiotics, symbiotics, or you're interested in what companies I typically recommend, let me know, comment below. Otherwise, till next time, friends, have a good one. Bye. And don't forget to subscribe.